to another episode of Roll After Midnight. Ram. Thank you again for joining me in another episode of Roll After Midnight. Ram. I am on, okay? I don't know who he is. I am on Mondays through Fridays at midnight Eastern, 11 p.m. Central, and 9 p.m. Pacific. You can follow me on Facebook at just look for Roro the Tenor. See that? Just look down there. And you can also subscribe on my YouTube channel, Filipino Tenor. You can type in Filipino Tenor. You could also type in www.youtube.com/Filipino Tenor. Also, you can follow me on IG, which is Instagram, or let's call it Intelligent Gay. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Roro the Tenor. And as always, as you notice, we got some nice paraphernalias. Got some fans and some t-shirts, just so you know. The back of this t-shirt is, look at this. Ooh, look at that. Yes, own your own. And whoever can actually give me support, this is specifically for the show. Okay, so everything you contribute will, we'll have more decorations, more hats for me, more fans. Actually, also something to benefit our guests. I kind of want to give them a little something, for coming to my show. And since we're still in the pandemic, there is a Transformer variant called Omicron. Ooh. Anyway, so make sure you are vaxxed and masked. If you're on Grindr or Scruff, wax too. Okay. Now we go to our main event. I'd like to give a little introduction to my guest tonight. My guest tonight has sung all over the United States. She was hailed as a rich-voiced, expressive mezzo-soprano and has sung in opera houses throughout the United States. Boston, Houston, Seattle, Chicago, Santa Barbara, everywhere. She is also a founding member of the Asian Opera Alliance, which we will discuss more with her later. I am happy to introduce you to my colleague and my very good friend, Miss Nina Yoshida Nelsen. Woo! How are you doing?
How's it going?
I'm doing fine. How are you? And there she is, Nina Yoshida Nelsen. That's how it's spelled, right there. Hi.
Right.
How are you doing? You're on that side.
Oh, you're over there? No, you're there.
No, yeah, there we go. Hi. How are you doing today?
I am good. I'm actually in your town of Chicago.
Ooh.
And you're not here.
I know. I'm in New York right now, but we're both working, so that's always good. Yay!
Hey. Really good.
So, throughout the show, see that all of Nina's info there. You can know more about her on ninayoshidanelsen.com, and also you can follow her on Twitter, on Instagram at Nina Nelsen. That is her info. Now, guess what? So before we get to know more about you and everything, guess what this section is called? It is Joke of the Day. And there you go. Joke of the Day. Look at that. We got a spit take. As usual, we ask our guests to take a sip of their drink, keep it in their mouth, and not ingest it until the joke is done. Are you ready?
I am ready.
There you go. Putting you on the spot. The joke of the day is, did you know that my grandpa was on a band called The Hinges? They opened for the Doors. Hey! You like that one?
That was good. One? Yeah.
Awesome.
Almost lost it.
I know. Thank you for watching Joke of the Day. There you go. See? It all worked out. Now, okay. Yeah, I have a few fans here, so
Amazing.
you'll
I
see
love
that.
your fan collection. They're
Oh, thank you. It's like, and I'm still collecting more. I think I'm gonna have it all. At some point, it'll be all over the wall, and then I'll just point. So this one is getting to know you. We're gonna ask Nina a little bit of background. She's gonna tell us, where she was born and raised, where she went to school, where she lives now, about her family. Take it away, Nina.
Thank you. So, born and raised in Santa Barbara, California. And I have obviously mom and dad and a little brother who's not so little anymore. And I grew up there playing the violin and singing in choir. I started singing when I was in high school choir. But I actually went to Boston University where I majored in violin and psychology. And it wasn't till after I was done with my undergrad that I started singing and stayed at BU to do a master's in voice at BU, and then took a year off where I moved back to California. When I was in California, I met my husband there. He was actually teaching at the Music Academy of the West. He plays French horn. He was not a teacher when I was a student. I never was a student there. But he did end up at a concert that I was singing at. And we got introduced, and the rest is history. So we got married quite a while ago, moved to New York, and then from New York, I met Bill Schumann, who took me to AVA. And so I was at AVA, but while I was at AVA, my husband got a job teaching at Indiana University. So we were married in 3 years. We lived in 2 different states, commuting back and forth. And then when I was done at AVA, I moved to Bloomington, Indiana, where my husband teaches French horn. And we have 2 little boys, not so little anymore, an 11-year-old named Reese and an almost 6-year-old named Blair. And they keep me on my toes, going all the time. And it's a lot of fun.
And do we get to see some family pictures on your Instagram as well?
Pretty much anything I ever post on social media at all is of my boys doing crazy stuff.
Here's a quick question. So, you played the violin, and I'm thinking, okay, I went to school with someone who is a soprano, but before she was a soprano, she played the flute. Is there, you played the violin, but you're a mezzo. Is it always kind of usually the case if you're going to be a soprano? Usually, if you played something, it'll be something about higher range, unless you're you play the piano, right. Then it doesn't matter what range you are. But most of the time, it's like, oh, you're a flute player, you're a higher voice. You're a violin player,
violin's pretty much just as high as flute, actually. So I really should have been a violist, right?
Right.
But then who wants to be a violist? No, I'm just kidding. I love the viola. So viola.
Well, anyway, I was just curious, that was a different, just out of the blue. I just
Yeah.
Now the next question is, you're such a trauma queen, but you know what? You are a diva trauma queen. So this is the part where I ask everyone who come into my show, what was the most traumatic experience you had as a performer? Not necessarily during performance. It could be while traveling, and the more specific, the darker it is, the better. All right.
Well, this is something that I think, as singers, a lot of times we're a little scared to talk about because of everything that surrounds talking about vocal injury. But for me, it was actually a positive experience. I learned a lot through this trauma. But when I was at AVA, I sang a show while I was sick. It was cozy. And I should have canceled, but there were lots of reasons I didn't cancel. And so I went on stage and I was singing, and the maestro was kind of like, I can't hear you. And so I started kind of pushing. And by the end of the show, I literally had no ability to phonate whatsoever. I was up there mouthing my words, and it was really horribly scary. I woke up the next morning. I still could not phonate, and I went to the doctor, and I had had a vocal hemorrhage on stage from singing while sick, singing improperly, pushing. And so the doctor said, you know, you need to go on vocal rest for 3 weeks. I took it very seriously. I did not say a single word for 3 weeks, and I went back, and thank goodness everything had healed and was all fine. But it was a really traumatic experience for me.
So, how did it affect you? Like, if you consider it very traumatic, like, does it sometimes, every time you get a cold or every time does that kind of feeling come back from that? Or
Yeah.
maybe
Knock on wood, no. But thanks for putting that in my head.
That's my fault. You're such a drama queen,
I learned a lesson, and that lesson was, if I'm sick and if I can't do it, I need to cancel, because it's not worth it to put everything at risk, the rest of my career, the rest of my livelihood, and my joy for being on stage for one performance. It's not worth it. And so I learned to trust myself through that.
I think
experience.
the reason why I asked that is because I had a lung problem back in 1999, and it was major. So every time I have a cough, see, that's what I'm talking about. Every time I like a real cough, I'm like, oh my God, I hope I don't get the wheezing. It's like going back to that point. And and I still deal with that. That's why I try to avoid getting sick, because, it's just that.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
we get a little bit more nitty-gritty detail. As you know, it's like, Nina is biracial. She grew up biracial, and we're gonna get to know more about one of the things I wanted to ask about her being biracial is I want to know your personal experience at home, at school, or anywhere else, and when did you discover? Because I guess when you're growing up, unless somebody told you, you won't know if you're Asian or non-Asian. And just take us to that time when you discovered yourself.
So I'm half Japanese American. My dad was Japanese American. My grandparents were born in the United States, Japanese born in the United States. And during World War II, they were interned. So they were part of the 120,000 Japanese Americans who were taken forcefully from their homes and relocated to incarceration camps away from the West Coast. And so I grew up always kind of knowing about that. But we were a very American family. I'm at least fourth generation on both sides of my family. If you were to have asked me, even up until recently, if you were to ask me how I identify as Southern Californian, Santa Barbarian, I've never identified as quote unquote Asian. So it was very strange for me as an opera singer once I got into the industry and people started identifying me, meaning they saw me as Asian. And so all of a sudden I realized I have to figure out what that means. I mean, that's not to say there wasn't some of the culture. Like we did do a big celebration on New Year's Day with my Japanese side of the family. There were definitely things that were part of our tradition, but I was one of, let's say, 3 Asians in my whole high school. I'm guessing, I don't know, but not very many.
So would you say it was being Japanese was more of a culture rather than a race when you were like growing up?
Absolutely. There were very specific cultural things that came from that side of the family. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I lost you. I can't hear you.
There you go. Now it's called All in the Family. So now that you experience that growing up, that in the business, now that you have your family of your own, how are you introducing that idea? Because now it's a lot easier for them with the technology, with the internet, and with the being aware of everything. Do they have their own questions? Did you tell them? Did they ask? How did they find out about their own heritage?
Well, so let me preface this by saying I am what we call Hapa, half Asian. And then there's this new term for those of us who are half Asian who marry white people, and our children are called Kwapa, quarter Asian.
Oh,
So our children
good
are
to know.
Kwapa. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our children are Kwapa, and you know, again, it's kind of there's cultural things that we do that have been passed down from my family. But one of the most interesting things for me raising our kids in Indiana is one day my son, who's now 11, came home when he was in kindergarten, and he said, "Mommy, my friends tell me that I must be part black." And I said, "Why? And do you think so?" He said, "Yeah, I think so." And I said, "Why?" And he says, "Because my skin is dark." And it was something that I had never even like thought of to even discuss skin color or anything with him. It's just part of who I am, who we are.
My,
And it
that's
was,
pretty deep.
yeah,
Yeah.
as a kindergartner. So it was something that definitely brought up a whole lot of conversation. And since then, I think it was really great. You know, we've talked a lot about what it means to be Asian, quarter Asian. My husband's Canadian, so half Canadian, you know, and everything that goes into our cultures and our identities. And it's exciting to be able to introduce them to all of those things.
So how do they rate, like for both of them? How do they react when they know now about the culture, the heritage? Like, oh, they know, they're aware now. That it's some people say we do see color, but how do they? How do they react? I mean, how do they deal with it?
Well, you know, it's really interesting. My mom actually said something to me the other day. Her hair has always been long, and it's recently become really short. And she said, you know, someone didn't recognize me. But the funny thing is that, like, I'm still looking at the world through my own eyes. So all I see is what I know. And when someone looks at me and sees something different, it's very strange. So I think that the same can go for, you know, being Asian or whatever our identities are. All we see is what we see. And there's no way to know any difference. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think for us it comes more with like traditions that we hand down to our kids and stuff like that, rather than like, this is what it means to be whatever you are.
Yes, and now I'm like adding something here. So now the next part is we'll talk about American Dream, the opera. It is an opera.
It is an opera.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell us about American Dream, the opera, because this is very close to your heart.
Yeah.
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 Tell us about it.
So American Dream was written by Jack Perla and Jessica Murphy-Moo. And it was premiered at Seattle Opera in 2015, I believe. And it's a story about, well, one part of the story is about a Japanese-American family that's interned during World War II. And it's a really powerful story. And after we workshopped the opera in 2014, some of the patrons and the people who came to see the workshop really said that the one character that needed some more finessing was my character, the character of the mother. And so Seattle Opera hired them to write a aria for my character, which comes in the middle of the opera as we are incarcerated. And what they did is they messaged, or they interviewed my grandmother, who is no longer with us, but at the time they sent her a bunch of interview questions, and she talked about what it was like to be incarcerated as a 17-year-old girl, what it was like to lose everything. And from that came this aria that I now get to sing whenever I sing this role. And my grandmother came to opening night. She sat literally in the front row, front and center at Seattle Opera in the big, huge house. And I could see her right there with my whole family. And she's no longer with us, but it's something that lives on in me forever. And so every time I get to sing it, it's a part of her that lives on in me.
So just a quick recap of the aria itself. I mean, in a nutshell, what what does the aria talk about? What does the aria express? So at least in case there are people watching here who are like, oh my God, I need to sing something different and something new, something that not everyone, and that they can actually relate to.
So this is it's an aria. I'm the mother of a 17-year-old girl, and we've been incarcerated. And she starts to ask me about, who she is and where we've come from and whatever. And I basically sing to her about the American dream. We thought it was going to be, you work hard and you farm on the, and you do all this stuff. But really, what the American dream turned out to be was our daughter and what we're able to give to her. And even though we are now behind bars and there's nothing we can do, there's nowhere we can go, she lives on as our dream.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to get a hold of that aria at some point. For people who want to research it, you know what?
Absolutely.
Message her. Message this girl. Okay?
Absolutely.
She's more than happy to help you out. Okay. Now we're going to take a little break. And then we're going to talk about one more thing about Asian Opera Alliance. But we'll be right back after these messages.
This is the Dara Report.
This is James for the Dara Report. When filling in your Christmas cards, why not listen to some Christmas music? It gets you in the mood. Back to you.
And that was the Dara Report.
Isn't that fun?
Super fun. So what Christmas music are we listening to?
Huh?
What Christmas music are we listening to?
I don't know yet. I mean, I don't know. It's like, it really depends on who you're writing to. Be like, oh, I'm going to go. It's like, well, for me, I would be like listening to like, I'll Be Home for Christmas. That would be really sad because I'm traveling and I'm like writing letters to everyone. So it's different when you're home and you're writing cards for everyone who's not from where you live. But if you're already traveling, it feels like you're even further away. So anyway, we'll go back to Nina here, and we are going to talk about Asian Opera Alliance and its mission. Just to let me just give them a little bit of a background about this. Asian Opera Alliance comprises a diverse group of Asian identified industry professionals who join together to uplift one another and to advocate for greater Asian representation in opera while striving for broader equity. So tell us more about the Asian Opera Alliance. I have little notes here. I just want to know, what triggered to form it. We said about the mission. That is the mission, and I want to know what do you think is the end goal, like at least our real main goal that we want to really accomplish with this organization.
Wonderful. Yeah, we started back in the spring. We started organizing right after the shootings in Atlanta, and it came about because a opera company, I won't name any names, posted a social media post saying, "We support our Asian artists." And I wrote to a friend of mine and I said, "Look at all those Asian artists that they say they support. It's wonderful, but almost all of them have been typecast into Asian roles that they're in the pictures that they're showing." And I said, so that's the next step for opera, is to stop pigeonholing Asians into solely Asian roles. And my friend who worked in the community engagement side of opera asked me, in a normal season, Nina, how many non-Asian identifying roles do you sing, or non-traditionally Asian? So I started counting, and even I was surprised. I knew I had been typecast into roles a lot, but I had no idea what it looked like. And in the course of 10 years, I had sung over 150 Suzukis. I've done 7 world premieres of Asian identifying operas, lots of concert work, stuff like that. And it turned out I had done 3 non-Asian identifying roles in 10 years.
That's in 10 years. Within
In 10 years.
10 years, we've only done 3 non-Asian
Yes.
or non-Asian identifying roles.
And I did not know that. I knew it was not very many, but I didn't know it was so few. And at that point, my friend and I started talking. We said, okay, it's time to start advocating, because that isn't just me and my career. It's been Asians, you know, across the board have had issues with this. And it's really something that it's important that we are able to now, as industry professionals who have been in this business long enough, to help forge the way for younger generations that are coming after us. And so we formed a community and ended up sending out a letter to all of the general directors of American opera companies, advocating for Asians in opera, primarily to stop pigeonholing us into Asian roles. And if we do get hired into Asian roles like Madame Butterfly, Turandot, that you make sure that you're hiring us for non-Asian identifying roles as well. That we're seeing more representation across the board in roles of all sizes. And then also, like, behind the scenes, it's important that we have a community that we are feel comfortable around. And so it's been really exciting. We've got a really great group of people who are all advocating together. We've just, Roro included, we've just started the process of becoming a 501c3, which is a nonprofit. And we are in the process of forming a board, and it's really exciting to see where things are going. And I feel like it's time.
All I can say about our group right now that like we're working on it is we better work, girl, work, which
And
we are doing right now.
We do.
Yes, and you know what? It's like what Nina says. Like, you know, we're doing everything we can, and I think we're on the right path right now. I think we're doing some really good work right now, and we just have to keep on it. And I think I'm also looking forward to more successes with what we're doing right now. So thank you so much, Nina, for sharing us that info.
Thank you.
Now, before this is actually, that is the end of all these like Q&A, and then knowing about Nina and what Nina is up to outside of singing personally. So now, before we're coming to the end of our show, before we go to the end of our show, we'd like to play. I'd like to play for you a snippet of Nina singing. But before that, so what happens before that? You know, because, you know, we want to make sure that people are really entertained. Guess what's happening now?
Do tell.
All right. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
So this one, I ask our guest to actually say the pickup line of the day. So now, where is that thing? Our pickup line of the day. Are you ready for this, Nina?
I'm ready.
Make sure you deliver it really well. Here you go.
Okay.
Gonna go wait.
Okay, let's see. I'm learning about important dates in history. Do you want to be one of them?
Of course. My answer is yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Nina, for that wonderful rendition of that pickup line of the day. I'm all about this.
It's very impressive.
There. Okay, now, before we let Nina go, we'd like to play for you. Here she is singing an excerpt from Carmen. May you enjoy what you see now. Oh, there it is. Oh, I have to change. Here it is. Nina Yoshida Nelsen singing an excerpt from Carmen by Bizet. Nina Yoshida Nelsen. Again, her website right there is www.ninayoshidanelsen.com, and you can see her on Instagram at Nina Nelsen. Remember? Just Nina Nelsen. Okay. Thank you again for gracing up with your presence.
Thank you.
And I look forward to seeing you soon. We're gonna be mingling soon. And say goodbye to our audience. Thank you again. Bye, Nina. Bye. Thank you. And I'd like to thank everyone again for coming. This was not a meh. It's not a meh. It's more of a yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Remember that Roro After Midnight, you're watching it. Ram! Roro After Midnight. Mondays through Fridays at 12:01 Eastern, 11:01 p.m. Central, and 9:01 p.m. Pacific. Remember, you can follow me on Facebook, Roro the Tenor, right there, down there. And you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Filipino Tenor. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Roro the Tenor. And please, I would appreciate any support you have so that we can make even our show even much more entertaining via Venmo at Roro the Tenor. Thank you again for coming to our show, and we will see you tomorrow. Wait, no, Monday. Sorry, I'm trying to see. Yep, today's Friday. We will see you on Monday. Thank you again, and have a good weekend.